Hi guys, welcome back. My apologies for my silence. Life happens, and not always we have the availability to do exactly what we would like to do. But anyway, that's irrelevant. What is relevant is that I've brought you here a whole bunch of IMs. Instead of dividing the reviews into a whole different bunch of reviews, I've decided to call this one "No One Left Behind." And it's kind of all the under $100 IEMs that have recently come out, and I've grouped them together, and I will be talking about them individually, and then kind of giving my opinion on which are the ones which I think are worthwhile, and maybe one or two comparisons with previous models. I mean, as you guys know, I am lucky enough, fortunately, to have a very large collection of IEMs, which allows me to do these mega comparisons. So I could have thrown, plenty more IEMs into this comparison, but I prefer to give you this first part. Let's put it that way, and then if there is any specific thing that you would like me to compare, I'll do it. I'm just going to run you through quickly what exactly I've got here, as they are kind of in different price points. And then obviously talking about them. In the bottom here, it's the TRN Medusa. These two, one is stock, one is modified, and I had to compare it with the conch, with the TRN conch. Okay, in the second row, yeah, I've got the I hope I'm going to say this right, the TWISTURA D-Major, and I'm comparing it to the Zuleniao Z4 and to the venerable HE Sound the HE Sound heart mirror. In that row there, I've got the DUNU Titan S2, and of course I had to have the Titan S1 and the KEFINE, the original KEFINE and the KEFINE Classic, and also comparisons for you guys to understand where it stands. And then in that top row over there, on the left hand side, I've got the NF Audio RA15, that first one on the left side. The second one is the KEFINE Delci. Next to that is the KEFINE Delci AE, which is the new one here. Next to that is the ORIVETI Dynabird, which is again the new one. And then next to that is the EA500 LM, which is an all-time let's say favorite or reference in this category. And then finally the Soundrhyme SP01, which is their latest single dynamic. Every single one of these IMs are single dynamics. We have here 9.8mm, 10mm, 11mm, 12mm. We have here just normal PET diaphragms. We have DLC, we have CNT, we have LCP, we have combinations. I'm not going to delve into all of that because it's just going to get overly boring and complicated, and I'm just going to make this review unnecessarily long. Anyway, I'm going to start here with this first row, which is the TRN, okay? Usual box, nice box. I mean, I'm not going to take you through all of the unboxings again, not to try and make this too complicated, but basically he has the carrying case, the IM cameras over there. It's got pretty decent accessories. It's got a nice cable, as you can see. Let me just put this away here to the side. As you can see, it's got a pretty nice cable, which they have been supplying with some of their IMs. The conch also has a nice cable. It's a modular cable, as you can also see. And the IMs are kind of a plastic resin shell. It's got a nice faceplate design. It's a 12mm driver. No tunable nozzles, nothing. The only thing here aesthetically that I think it's a pity is the cable's got a nice accessory on the plug side, but then these QDC plugs that they're using here, I mean, they just look very, very cheap, and it's a pity. It is a pity. We're talking about an IM that costs roughly $50, give or take. This particular unit, I got it from HIFIGO. And look, in its stock format, it's not that it's a bad sounding IM, but in its stock format, when we consider that we have the conch, which can be had sometimes as low as $22, brings the same sort of accessories, brings also a cable which is also modular. It brings the tuning nozzles, metal shell, and plays phenomenally well. It's probably, out of all of these IMs, one of the IMs that, when I take into account price, performance, all of those factors, it's probably the best one. I'll be very honest, and it's probably the best one. And I'm not talking about it in any modified state. I'm talking about it in its stock format with the nozzle that I'm using, okay, which is the nozzle which kind of gives it the smoothest response, in my opinion. When I get into the graphs, you'll see what I mean. So I'm not even mentioning some of the mods that have been done by some other reviewers, namely Michael Bruce. He did a nice mod on this, which kind of gives it the vibes of the singularity. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about it in stock format. In stock format, this is, in my opinion, the best TRN IEM to date. End of story. It's the best one. It plays everything very well. It's super versatile. There's a great balance established between bass, mids, and highs. There's no particular area there that just kind of stands out or is out of context. There's no real, what I could consider, sibilance. There's no real harshness, especially when you take into account the price. The reality is there's nothing I can falter. There is absolutely nothing that I can falter. I mean, this thing is capable of putting up a performance of IEMs like I've mentioned, which are here in the $100 bracket and even higher. Let me make that perfectly clear. This is capable of a performance which is equal to many IEMs in the over $100 price bracket, single EDs. Okay, so when you have something like this, which is cheaper than the stock Medusa, it is very difficult for me to not say, no, get the Medusa. No, this just walks all over the Medusa. Okay, the Medusa in its stock format at lower volumes, there's a certain amount of balance which is maintained, but then soon, or if you're not careful with what source you've chosen, particularly in its stock format, the vocals become way too forward. Female vocals have a tendency of shouting a little bit. It doesn't scale as optimally or as well as the conch does. So it's an IM that very quickly can become fatiguing, and not something that you would really say, okay, it's worthwhile. Having said all of that, considering that it's a 12mm driver and that we usually do not find very well-tuned 12mm drivers, single ED IM drivers around, if I take that into account, it's actually pretty good. The next one that comes to mind in terms of the size is the D13. Yes, overall the D13 from Natura is a better sounding IM, but it was an IM that cost just over $100. You can now get it cheaper. I've seen it at as low as $65. So, if you take those aspects into account, if you take those things into account, you can't really then falter it too much. Now, once you've modified it like I've done here, okay, on this one is modified, it basically becomes the conch. Okay, in the format that I also have the conch in, with the specific nozzle that I've got it in here. Being a 12mm driver, obviously, and there being a slightly larger displacement, the bass does give it an overall sound which is a little bit more full, a little bit more warmer, so it isn't as clean as the conch is. Okay, but the overall tonality, the overall timbre, the presentation that the modified Medusa is capable of giving is very, very nice. And in my opinion, with this mod that I did, that's what I think TRN should have done. If TRN had done that, since they didn't want to go down the road of interchangeable nozzles, which I think would have been the wiser idea, have a nozzle which has basically the tuning that it has now, and then a nozzle with the tuning that it has modified by me. Even if that meant that the IM was going to cost $60 or $70 even, that would have made sense. That would have been then an IM that you could have said, okay, I've got a conch, I'm looking for a possible upgrade. Okay, maybe the Medusa can be an option. So in its stock format, no, the conch is a better IM. In its modified tuning, like I did, it comes very close to the conch in many things. It just loses to the conch in its clarity. The conch is just ever so slightly more clear in the upper mids and treble, but that is more a consequence of it being a 12mm driver, which has slightly more displacement, and having a slightly bigger displacement just gives it an overall more bass energy, although the curves are very, very similar. Okay, so that's the TRN conch. The TRN Medusa, sorry. Like I said, and let me repeat once again, in its stock format, a nice IM, decent, but nothing special. If you are able to get it in a modified state, you know, if you in a modified state, so my apologies, in a sale, if you are able to get it when it goes on sale, or with a slow up or a coupon or something, I would say yes, it could be an interesting IM to get if you are willing to then also perform the mod that I did. Even if nothing else, but the fact that it's a 12mm driver, and like I said, modified, it plays really well. And that's basically, there's really not much more that I can say about it. Okay, now let's talk about the second row here, which is the TWISTURA D-Major, and what I brought out to compare with it. Again, simple enough box. It brings again, not again, but it brings adjustable, interchangeable nozzles. My apologies. It brings this adapter as well. It doesn't bring a carrying case. It is an IM that costs from LINSOUL. When I got this particular unit from LINSOUL, it costs around the $50, just under the $50 price bracket. It's got an unusual shape. I didn't particularly like its stock cable. That's why I'm using a different cable. It's got an unusual shape. Although the angle of the driver and the nozzle are actually quite good, the shell size and shape doesn't, at least with me, doesn't allow it to sit 100% in the ideal position for my ear. Okay, and so I have to end up kind of twisting and turning it, and having the IM, instead of sitting flush in my ear, it has to sit slightly out like this. In terms of the overall build, it's solid. It's a mix of like what seems to be resin or plastic with some metal. It's got a nice weight to it. There's really not much I can falter. It's really got a very solid feel. It doesn't in any way look like an IM that would only cost this amount of money. Okay, now compared to the HE Sound and the Z4 from Zuliniao, and I'm obviously now talking about the Sound, they provide this graph here, which isn't too much off what I myself measured. With the alternative nozzles that it brings, it's got a nozzle with a red O-ring, which is what I've got there, one with the blue and one with the black. With the blue and with the black, I didn't like the sound, as it was way too energetic in the upper frequencies, and it just made it sound a little bit cold. It just made it sound a little bit lifeless. With the red O-ring, which is what I have here, it gives it a nice little bass boost, lowers the mids and upper mids and treble just the right amount for the overall balance to be very, very pleasant. It's still an IM, as are any one of these three. These are all IMs which are focused on being more vocal, more vocal centric, more so mids are what the intention of the tuning was focused on. But as I said, yes, the mids can be fine, and I mean, I remember people talking about the heart mirror not having enough bass and sounding a little bit thin and so on and so forth. I never found that particularly, maybe because of my hearing doesn't pick up on the higher frequencies as well as it should, because of my age, and also because of the majority of the listeners that actually did buy the heart mirror. But I found that with the spin fit tips, okay, and allowing it to sit nice and deep in the ear canal, the heart mirror was able to get this balance of the bass, although it's very neutrally tuned in the bass department, to get this balance which gave it more than enough weight for, I would say, 85 to 90% of the music that I like listening to. And you know, and even in those songs that it didn't, I would perhaps even also say that it was more down to my personal preference of liking a little bit more of a bass presence than necessarily the recording not having been balanced. Okay, on the D major with the other nozzles that or the other terminations of the nozzles, what I got was a sound that, whichever way I tried to really introduce the IEM into my ears, it always was way too clinical, way too sterile, way too cold, and it just, I don't know, it was no match for the heart mirror. It just couldn't keep up with the heart mirror, in my opinion. However, when I changed to the red nozzle, like I said, then it became much nicer. I mean, that extra little amount of bass that it gained, and the drop in energy on the mids and the highs was just the right amount for the overall perception to be or to come across as very tonally correct, with a very nice timbre, mids in terms of the vocals, male and females, now had that right amount of warmth to convey a certain reality to things. I mean, let me take here, for example, Tears in Heaven by Eric Clapton. With the red nozzle, it sounds, to my ears, correct. It sounds realistic, especially the acoustic live version. With the other nozzles, it just sounds hollow. I think it's probably the best word. And you know, like I said, with the red O-ringed termination, the D major is a really nice sounding IM, especially for those that are having a preference for IMs which are not so bass focused, or not following maybe the harmony tune, which is always very, you know, which is basically what everybody's doing now. Very nice compared to the Zuleniao. And again, the Zuleniao, the Z4 was an IM. This unit, I got it right when the Zuleniao came out. It's now actually available at HIFIGO, and they've actually been able to put it at the same price as the D major, so they're basically costing the same thing. And it also has the adjustable nozzles, and basically the tuning on one and the other is the same. The difference here is that this is just ever so slightly more energetic, both in the bass and in the mids, upper mids and treble, as compared to the Z4. But the overall curve, the overall balance that then struck is equal. I would say that listening to one and listening to the other gave me, I would say that they are about 95% equal, honestly. So if you have a Zuleniao with the nozzle, which again I think is the nozzle which works the best with it, which is the one that lowers the mids and upper mids, because again this is an IM where the focus, the aim of the tuning was to be vocal centric. Mids are the star of the show. So if you put that specific nozzle, which I believe is the silver one, let me just here confirm exactly, it just sounds phenomenal, honestly. It might not be my number one preference, but as I've said countless times, as long as what is proposed is done right, I don't mind any crazy tuning. I can try and go in and understand and fetch what I think is the value, the idea. Now, when a company tries to do an alternative tuning and it just sucks, then it sucks, and I'll say it as well. So these three IMs are all vocal centric IMs. The D major, in essence, okay, is a Zuleniao Z4 with just a little bit extra energy. And so by that I mean it's an IM that will be more focused towards those that like detail, yes, in terms of detailed retrieval, overall, you know, micro and macro details. All that is very nicely done. There's really nothing I can fault it. The same goes for the Z4 and the heart mirror. If you have a heart mirror, will you get a major upgrade by getting these two? I don't think so. I really don't think so. The problem now is that you won't be able to get a heart mirror unless it's a zero, which is basically the same thing as the original heart mirror in essence, just got a different shell termination. If on the other hand you don't like the heart mirror for whatever reason, and you are choosing between the two of these two, you know, the TWISTURA, the D major, and the Z4, I would probably opt for the Z4, and I'll tell you why. Because the overall accessories package is more complete. Okay, that's basically the motive which I would opt for the Z4. Otherwise, in terms of sound, they are like I said, 95% equal. Okay. Anyway, I hope that is out of the way as well, explained and understood. So let's get these out of the way here. Okay, I'm actually going to put this here so that we can just talk about it afterwards in the end. Now, next row here, let's bring here the DUNUs and see how they fare. Okay, sorry. All right, DUNU S2, Titan S2. Nice case. The box actually doesn't even give you an idea of what the accessories are going to be inside, because it's basically the case that's inside there. Okay, so So it's got a nice case. It's the latest generation cases from DUNU. And then all the tips you can possibly imagine. I'm using the SS tips, which are the ones that work the best. It's got a nice cable in terms of its, I would say, visual aspect. It's modular. I didn't like it because it's just got very much a life of its own. So I opted for this cable, okay, which is the cable that is used by CKLVX, used by Puller, which is basically the cable from the cable that we found as well in the oh my god, I had just a blank now, that we found in the SL41 from Jazeer. So this is basically the Jazeer cable. It's the same cable that those IEMs use, and I use this cable on the S2. The shell is very similar to the original, okay, very similar, as you can see, same type of design, just a slight difference here on the faceplate and that center section there. It fits me fine. I didn't have any issue with the fit. It is a fingerprint magnet because of the chrome finish, I will say that much. And that's it. I mean, there's really not much I can falter. It is an IEM that costs around the $75 price bracket. I got this unit from HIFIGO as well. So it's got a solid build, that's unquestionable. Very well accessorized. The only thing which I think is kind of a pity is the fact that they didn't put any adjustable nozzles. Which when we're talking about a market which is so competitive, and at this price point, I mean, you have it at lower prices. Well, at this price point, they could have done the same thing. You know, it becomes important that you really have something that stands out. It's something that really is a factor that will be helping in the end client deciding between an IEM. So if an IEM offers more versatility in terms of its tuning, that's definitely something which I think will help in the final decision, especially when prices are similar. So they didn't go for the adjustable tuning nozzles. They opted for more accessories. Okay, fine. The moment you find what tip works for you, that's that. So you're stuck with tips that you can use for other IEMs, perhaps, yes, but the likelihood of them actually being ideal is, you know, is a 50-50. When compared to the original Titan, the tuning has changed completely. This was an IEM where neutrality was very much the order of the day. Bass wasn't at all emphasized. What was the premise here was to have amazing vocals, amazing details, a very audiophile presentation. And you know, the Titan was an IEM that you loved or hated. If you were thinking it's going to give you crazy bass amounts and so on and so forth, forget it. This was all about being neutral. The S2 has gone down the road of the Harman tune. So the tuning has changed radically. I can understand them calling it S2 because of the fact that they're using a similar shell design and so on and so forth. But it almost begs the question that if maybe it wouldn't have just been better to call it something else, you know. But anyway, that's just a little side note there. So the tuning has changed radically, and it's become kind of, it's fallen into that basket of IEMs, which is just another one. And what do I mean by that? While the S1, while the original Titan was an IEM that definitely had a crowd that it tailored for, because it had a tuning which was very different but was very well executed. Okay, it might have been a little bit shy on the bass, but overall, the balance that was struck was actually a nicely executed balance. And it wasn't, you know, yes, you could feel that some songs would be a little bit thin sometimes, but most of like jazz that I like listening to, most of the female vocals that I like listening to, they sounded fine. It was only when I went into something like EDM or hip hop that I really saw that the original Titan lacking the ability of maybe giving those songs the required energy. Something which the S2 does flawlessly, and the S2 in that department plays amazingly well. But the S2 kind of falls into the same mistake as the original. It fell into the same mistake that the DUNU Kima, the original one, fell, which was the Kima, because of wanting to play safe in terms of its tuning, It didn't do anything that made it stand out, but it also didn't do anything wrong. So it was an IM that was easy to listen to, but because of the price point that the original Kima had, it was just kind of, why would you choose a Kima when you had IMs that could do the same thing as the Kima better? The Kima Classic was an improvement in that it gave it a little bit more spice, and it kind of made more sense if you were choosing between the two of them. But again, it wasn't an IM that you would say, oh, okay, no, it really has something differentiating it from the rest of the IMs which it is competing with, so it was, and the Titan S2 kind of has fallen into the same mistake. Instead of maybe taking the original tuning of the Titan and giving it a slight improvement, or adding nozzles that would allow you to maybe retain that tuning and then change it into an alternative tuning as the one we now have here. I mean, they could have done a few more things to it to make it be capable of being kind of like a chameleon, giving you the original type of sound, or then giving it a more, let's say, likable, across the board, mainstream type of tuning. They went down the road of wanting to go like the Kima. So it doesn't do anything wrong, but it doesn't do anything that stands out. You listen to the S2, and yes, bass is nice. There's a nice vocal presentation. There's no sibilance, male and female vocals, or fine. I would say perhaps male vocals are slightly just edging out the female vocals, but nothing. It's, I think, in the detail retrieval. It's in the how can I say, it's more in the technicality, especially in the sense of sound stage and giving you that involving atmosphere that I think the Titan 2 kind of loses itself, or doesn't really shine. So towards the end, when I have just the new IMs and I kind of compare between the two of them, between all of them, you'll understand what I'm saying slightly better. So it's not that it's a bad IM. No, it's got nice timbre and tonality. It's well executed. It's a very safe IM to listen to. It just kind of goes along the lines of the other tunings that we've seen countless times. So, I mean, and not wanting to jump the gun too much here, but if you have a conch, for example, and you have the Titan S2, the conch is the better IM. It's as simple as that. The versatility that it offers with the tuning nozzles, just that on its own is a plus point for it. Secondly, it costs a third of what this costs. You have a conch. Why would you opt for S2? Why would you upgrade to an S2? No, it doesn't make sense to upgrade, because you're not getting anything that is really going to be different. It's going to be really wow. Okay, yes, it's got the DUNU name behind it. It's got excellent build construction quality. The QC in terms of left and right channel, in terms of the measurements, are flawless. But it doesn't have any redeeming factor which makes it really stand out. That's the thing here. So I would almost say that if you have a Kima or a Kima Classic, stick with them, because this is not going to be an upgrade over them. Honestly, it isn't. Especially now the Kima Classic, which you can also get it slightly cheaper. I would in all honesty, I would probably opt for the Kima Classic. In all honesty, again, and let me make this perfectly clear, I'm not talking bad about the S2. I'm just stating a fact. It is a good IM. It is well tuned, plays what it's supposed to play well, but it doesn't have any factor that is a standout one to justify you choosing it over other IMs, which some of them substantially cheaper. Okay, so that's the S2. Let's get this out of the way here. Let me put it over here, so afterwards in the end we can talk about it. Okay, put this over here, put this over here, put this over here. Alright, and now let's bring here these puppies, the KEFINEs, the Delcis, the NA. My apologies. Okay, alright. 500 LM, we already know a lot about it, so I'm gonna not talk too much about it. I'm gonna talk about the new ones and then just compare it with the LM. Let's start here with the RA15. NF Audio is a brand that's been around for a while. They've always kind of tailored for studio monitoring and musicians and so on and so forth. So they've always had a different type of tuning. I've been reviewing a lot of NF Audio products for a while now. I never really dealt into the more expensive ones, which I have an NE4, which I will be reviewing coming up now next. Because the price was a little bit out of context for me at the time. But as I was saying, NF Audio does have and has had some very interesting single DDs over the last couple of years. NA2, NM2, NA2 Plus, NM2 Plus, the NA3, and now the RA15, and they've also got the RG15. This, in terms of build quality, it's faultless. I mean, I really can't say anything about it. It's got a nice build quality. It's a very light IM, small IM. It fits beautifully in my ears. I believe this uses, let me just check. I don't want to mislead you. I believe it's a 10mm driver. I'm trying to see if I can find. I believe it's a 10mm driver. But anyway, 10, 9.8, it's not really that important. It's got their proprietary magnetic system that they've always used in their single DDs. And as is the usual fashion, the way that they've tuned this here was to be more of an IM that maybe could be used on stage or do some monitoring with it. And why? Because the upper mids and the mids, upper mids are very emphasized or very energetic. They do have nozzles that you can change. All right, there you go. You've got two sets, one with this black O-ring and another one with the red O-ring. And the difference between the two of them is not that dramatic. The cable, I mean, for an IM of $100, I would have liked to have seen a nicer cable. To have plastic terminations is not exactly what I think is, the ideal. It would have been nice if it was modular, or at least offer it in with different terminations again. So I think in that department there of the cable, they could have done better. The tips are not bad, the stock tips, they're actually not bad, although there's not much in terms of different types or varieties. And again, they've kind of, I think, downplayed by just giving us a pouch. Like I said, this is a $100 IM, and as a $100 IM, it must compete not only in terms of giving you a nice solid accessories package, but then it must have a redeeming factor. The redeeming factor, which is the adjustable nozzles, kind of was done properly, but the accessories, not so. Now, concerning the sound and how it is in its stock format, and if you're going to be a low volume listener, then I would say fine. For the most part, you will be able to enjoy music. You won't really find it to be unbalanced, although you will definitely notice that the sound is very much vocal focused. And when you try and push it a little bit, or if you don't choose a source which can actually balance things out. I used, for the majority of the listening of all of these IMs, I apologize, the Yuki. Okay, for the majority of the time I used the Yuki. I then had the TP50 as well on for a while. I had the M15 from Q-Style as well, and the Q15 from Fio. But I did most of the listening with the Yuki, just because it kind of was the one that made all of the IMs play very well. The M15, for example, in this particular case, exacerbated that energy that it already has, and it just made it become very fatiguing very quickly, at least to my ears. Okay, now going back to what I was saying, if you've chosen at least a nice source which is kind of balanced in the way that it's presenting itself, you got a good fit, and you're not a high volume listener, yes, I think you can get away with listening to it nicely. It won't fatigue you. You have to be, let's say, a person that is wanting something different, that doesn't follow the norm, that doesn't want to follow the crowd in terms of what everybody else selects usually. Now, is there room for improvement? Definitely. And that's exactly what I did. I took that nozzle kit that SimGuard has, I made my own tuning on it, and I used that nozzle, and that's what I'm actually using here, and that's then how it stayed, and that's how I did then the remaining of the comparisons with the other IEMs. And with the different nozzle, things became not a little bit better, substantially better. And again, I feel that this is where they maybe came short when I said that they kind of did the job when it came to the tuning nozzles. They should have provided a tuning nozzle with the tuning that I've done for this particular unit, and then maybe have, like I said, yes, the other tuning nozzles like they have, which they are almost identical, but then have the other ones for those that perhaps are not high volume listeners and that like a more energetic presentation in the mids, upper mids, and treble. My nozzle basically just lowers that energy level, okay, and creates that balance that I particularly like. And so when I listen to something like Blurry Sequence from Lady Driver, or if I listen to Cha Cha Loco from Joe Jackson, or I listen to None of Us Are Free from Solomon Burke, or I listen to Tears in Heaven, like I said earlier, from Eric Clapton, it just makes those songs then sound the way I like. It makes them sound really, they really sound balanced, and I appreciate the how can I put it, I just enjoy it the way it sounds that way. With the stock nozzle, no, with the stock nozzle it was very quick. I was very quick to get bored, and because some songs, like for example, let me just give you a few examples. Like for example, The Lady's Not Amused. The moment I pushed the volume a little bit from Jeff Cascara, the moment I pushed the volume up a little bit, the RA15 just became way too energetic for my personal liking. If I listen House of Groove from Eugene Groove, the same situation. Elephant from Carol Duboc, which is a song that I usually like listening to. With the stock nozzle, no. With the modified nozzle, where that energy level comes down of the mids, upper mids, and treble, and it's more balanced with the bass, it just sounds so nice. It kind of has vibes of the NA3, okay? And I just find that sound, for me particularly, way more satisfying. Since you do have the adjustable nozzles, I mean, this is what I don't understand. Why not have catered for people or for a wider audience by providing a tuning like you have of the original, but also providing a tuning like the one that I have done? Okay, I think it would have been a very strong point to make it a competent contender. And this is basically down to the fact that when you have something like the Simgot, the 500 LM, which costs around the $75 price, has the adjustable nozzles, and it plays as well as it does without you even making your own nozzles, all right? It is very difficult to come and say, no guys, you have to spend another $30 almost and buy the RA15 because the RA15 is the thing. No, very complicated. And I'm not even mentioning the fact that the LM, the 500 LM, has got better accessories. It's got equally as good accessories, better cable, everything, carrying case. So there you have it. I mean, like I said, in its stock format, not exactly an IM that I would consider a first choice. Definitely not. It kind of falls on the same mistake as the TRN Medusa with its stock tuning does. Okay, with its modified nozzle, since it does allow you to have that interchangeability, different story. And at the end, I'll let you know my idea compared to the Delci AE and to the ORIVETI and to the SP02 and even to the Titan S2. Okay, so that's that one out of the way. Let's talk here about the SP02. SP02 from Soundrhyme. Again, nicely enough accessorized. It doesn't bring these liqueur tips. I found that the liqueur tips actually work way better than the stock tips worked. I don't think I've got here the stock tips, but the stock tips, no, I don't have them. The stock tips, I don't know. Again, we're talking about an IM which is roughly $100. Nicer tips. The cable is not bad. I would have liked, I honestly would have liked to have seen a modular cable. But, it's these things which I I have a hard time understanding sometimes. I just don't understand. So build is nice. It's this kind of reminds us of stuff from Ibasso. It's got a nice build. It fits nicely into the ears. Not a heavy IM. And then in terms of the sound, it's again an IM that, although it doesn't sound bad, it doesn't. It sounds actually quite nice. It's got a very agreeable tuning as it is in stock format. Nice mid-bass focus, but with enough rumble, well executed mids, upper mids, and treble. Any hint of over energy in terms of the mids or upper mids, or that 4, 5, 6K is very well mitigated by that extra mid bass that we've got. But it again doesn't have any redeeming factor in terms of being something which stands out as compared to the other single DDs that Soundrhyme does. Yes, it's a significant upgrade, substantially better than the SR1. Compared to the other single DDs that PENON and ISN offer, I would say the D10 is still the better option. Yes, the D10 is more expensive, but the D10 from ISN is an amazing IM. Really good. And compared to the Neo 1, it's a hard one to choose there. I'll be honest. The Neo 1 is a very competent little IM. Very competent little IM. But the SP02 is not a bad IM. Its issue, like I said, is not so much the tuning, it's the fact that it costs close to $100. And with that price, it needs to have something which really makes it stand out. So in this particular case, the accessories should have been slightly better. They should have been more gratifying, okay? But they should have also perhaps in the tuning, give it some adjustable nozzles, something to just make it, not that it sounds fine with the tuning that it's been done, mind you, but something to make it stand out, something to make you think, okay, I've got the SP02, I've got the 500 LM, I've got the Delci AE, I've got the RA15, and I've got still this IM and that IM. Okay, let me take my time, listen to them, and then make a decision. By not having any of those things that I just mentioned, the decision here of the SP02, the SP01 is a really easy decision to make. There's nothing that is significant. Okay, so that's that out of the way. Leaves us now here with the ORIVETI and with the Delci AE. ORIVETI Dynabird, beautiful shell. I mean, beautiful shell. Really nice. The accessories that it brings, pretty solid. Again, it is an IM which costs close to $100. It's got some nice tips. I'm using the stock tips because it works fine. The stock cable could have been a little bit better. I'm not going to deny. That's why I'm actually using this cable. But there's also another reason why I'm using this cable here. This cable from Nice HCK, and that has to do with the way that the Dynabird has been tuned. The Dynabird has a very early pin again, which peaks at around 2K, and that extra energy can, with some music, especially female vocals, give us a forwardness which is not 100% agreeable with me at times. I just no, it kind of was shouting in my ear. Taking that away, the rest of the tuning and those occasions where that shoutiness did come up, the rest of the tuning is a very nice tuning. There's no there's no adjustable nozzles, there's no nothing, which is a pity. But when I compare this, for example, to its OD200, I would say that this is a better IM than the OD200, and the OD200 does have the adjustable nozzles. It is a better IM in the sense that it costs basically half the amount of money, and it gives a more competent sound, even though it does have that slight little fault, which for me is an issue, but maybe for many of you might not be an issue. So its problem, I think, for the Dynabird is not so much the way that it's tuned, but it's just, again, what it costs and what it then offers for the price. Yes, solidly built. Yes, decent accessories. Could have been better in the cable department. And yes, a decent tuning for the most part. A very high quality driver being used there. But the reason why I used this cable, and again, cables are always an issue which brings up a lot of controversy. So I'm not gonna go too much into that, so that I don't get much hate. I've actually got here the box. I forgot to show you. Is this actually? I think this was the one that was actually using a 9.8 millimeter dynamic driver. Anyway, again, not important. The important thing is that the driver is of decent quality. As I was saying, the problem here is that when it costs what it costs, and you have such competent competition, you have to have something which, and I think that if they had at least provided the adjustable tunings to lower that energy there, that early inner energy of the pinna gain, I personally think that this could have been a very valid option, because when you find the right song for it, let me put it to you this way: when you find the right song, well, like for example, Elephant from Carol Duboc, or let's say Tequila Moon from Jessie J, or let's say even these are all songs that it really did quite well, or It Feels Like Rain from Aaron Neville, or New Dawn from Dominic Miller, or even Piano in the Dark from Brenda Russell. Or then if I go to something completely different, like Shocked by Poison, when you listen to those songs here, it really plays those songs well. I'm not going to deny it. It really plays it well. And it plays it on a level of the Delci, for example, for me at least, in the sense that although the tunings are different, it is as satisfying for me to listen to those songs here as it is to me listening to those songs on the Delci. It plays it on the level of the Simgot, the EA500 LM. Again, the satisfaction that I get from listening to those songs on the Oriveti is the same that I get on the 500 LM. But then you get other songs, where it just goes south very quickly, and that's where, again, let me repeat, it might just be me, but I have a feeling that there will be other people that will probably also have the same experience that I'm having. Again, let me repeat, having said all of this and compared to its OD100 and OD200, the OD100 was cheaper, the OD200 was more expensive, single DD. Compared to those two IMs, I feel that this is the best of the three. That's, I've got no doubts about it. However, I would have liked to have seen those adjustable nozzles the same way that they did it on the OD200. It would have been nice if they could have had the adjustable nozzles here for the Dynabird, and offered an IM with a slightly greater versatility. But when I show you the graphs, you guys will understand exactly what I mean. Also, the cable, as I was saying, did help mitigate that issue there of that pinna gain. But the other thing that I also was, and that's why basically just left me using the stock tips, was I was kind of hoping that different tips would have helped somehow, and no, the stock tips in that aspect were well selected. They did a good job in finding the tip that actually works the best. I found that with other tips, I was even getting more of that early gain be more present. Again, at least to my ears. I mean, for example, I tried the Velvets, and the Velvets, no, these stock tips, which are the same as that Letro uses on a lot of their IMs, these ones still work the best. So overall, the Dynabird is a nice IM. It is well tuned, definitely. It has got that issue, like I said, that with some songs, I was a little bit kind of, is this the same IM I'm listening to? With other songs, phenomenal, and it played on the level of the IMs that I considered my favorite ones in this group. Okay, so that's the Dynabird there out of the way, and then finally here the Delci. And the Delci is going to be an easy one. I mean, really, honestly, easy. The KEFINE Delci, the original one, is for me one of the best IMs. I would go as far as saying it's one of the best single DD IMs up to $400, $500 easily. Why? Because when you take into account, the build quality, the sound, the tuning that they've done. When you take into account all those factors and you put them all into the equation, and let's come out here with the result. The result is a very favorable result, and there's very little that you can criticize. So even those people that say that, oh no, it was too sub bass focused and it was lacking detail up tops, when you consider its price of just over $50, that doesn't become a problem in my opinion, because what it does very well. The way that the bass is presented is very well. There's a very good driver inside here. That's the reality, and it is a very well built IM. I mean, it's a CNC machine shell, aluminum. It's solid. It looks the part. And what they did on the Delci AE was the smart move: make adjustable nozzles, and they did exactly what I've mentioned earlier. They've got one nozzle which basically gives you the same tuning as the stock Delci, and then they give you another nozzle which gives you that extra energy in the 2 to 7, 8K area to give more twinklies, more sparklies, more detail, better technicalities, and to satisfy that crowd of people that wanted the bass of the Delci but thought that it was lacking a little bit in the upper range department. And that's what they did. It's as simple as that. That's basically the review for the KEFINE Delci. In the nozzle with the sound, which is the same as the original Delci, just go to that review if you want to get more details. But in essence, it's smooth, silky smooth in my opinion, buttery, male, female vocals, everything comes across fantastically well. Okay, fine, if I really want to nitpick, maybe one or two songs, a little bit more detail here and there, but no, honestly, that's just me being an ass. Bass, super well executed, loads of sub bass, everything just makes for a very nice organic musical sound. It's something which I usually say, IMs can be musical, organic, or IMs can be clinical and cold. Some of them go and try and become the two things. Some of them do it well, some of them don't do it well. This is just a nice musical, organic, old school presentation, smooth, really, really well. With the Delci AE, with that nozzle, that's what you get. Or with the Delci AE, or with the alternative nozzle. I've got here, these are the tips. So with the breast, you see, with a breast tip, it gives you that more high energy presentation, which then, yes, does convey the technical side of things, that energy that will please the technically inclined, the people that like the more twinklies and sparklies. With the silver nozzle, which is what I've got on there, it's just basically the AE. I left it with the silver nozzle because that's just the way that it sounds best for me. Even with the breast nozzle, the extra amount of detail that I was getting, that little extra amount of openness in certain vocals, that little extra amount of detail that I was obtaining wasn't for me as satisfying as that smoothness. I was more impressed. Let me give you an example here. For example, where is it? Cha-Cha Loco or Piano Man from Wolfgang Hafner. You listen to those two songs on the Delci AE with the different nozzles. For me, with the nozzle which has the sound the same as the original Delci, I was more impressed by what I was listening, and it sounded more realistic in terms of the details that it was fetching than it does with the brass nozzle. That's just me, okay? Those that say that it was lacking in detail, those people probably will find that with the brass nozzle, it then has struck that perfect combination that they want, and that's great. And that's where I think the Delci AE has hit the nail right on the head. They've offered an IM which is catering for a wide variety of people by offering these two nozzles which give these two very distinct presentations, okay? Both of them very well done, okay? My preference is my preference, that's irrelevant. And they've offered all of that with a decent cable, decent accessories, nice cable. And this unit, I got it from HIFIGO, costs just over $60, $65 or $66 if I'm mistaken. So when you take that into account, it starts making life very hard for the other options that we now have under $100. You start thinking to yourself, okay, why would I choose that over this when I have such a complete IEM here? Okay, and that then leads me here to the final kind of, let's say, the final opinion of these IEMs. So let me take away the original KEFINE. We don't need it. Okay, we've got here the RA. So we've got here the RA, we've got here the ORIVETI, we've got here the SP, we've got here the KEFINE, the Delci AE, and we've got, where's the DUNU, the DUNU, here we go, DUNU. Okay, all right, now I'm going to leave here just the 500 LM, and that's for a specific reason. The easiest one to straight away take away out of this equation is the RA15. Nothing against the NF audio, nothing against it. Like I said, if you really want to extract the best of performance out of it, in my opinion, then you have to get that tuning kit and do the tuning, the alternative tuning. And yes, if however you are a person that likes a lot of mids and highs and so on and so forth, then maybe just with the nozzles that it brings, it will be fine. But if you're looking for something which is going to be overall balanced, versatile, play a whole bunch of different genres, I think the stock tuning didn't hit the nail on the head. The price tag as well doesn't help. So this is the easiest one to kind of do away with. All right, so that's out of the way there. The next one, I would say, is kind of easy to go, because it's not that it's expensive compared to some of the others. I mean, it's $70-something. It's not that expensive, but when you consider that we have the Delci AE at the value that it is, the DUNU Titan S2, by not having a particular tuning which has anything special, not having the adjustable nozzles, and just being a safe tuning, kind of also becomes an easy one to eliminate. So kind of, all right, well, that doesn't, I can get the same sort of performance from a conch, from a TRN conch at $30. Okay, so that's an easy one again to take out of the equation. When I now compare it with the SP, with the rest that I have here left, and I take the SP02 for example, again, the problem with the SP02 is the price. The tuning in itself is not a bad tuning, but for this IM to have been more competitive in reality, the price should have been something around the $50 price bracket. So it should have been the same price as, for example, the Neo 1. It should have been an item of no more than $60 at the very most, okay, under the circumstances that it's in. If maybe they've thrown in a better cable, or maybe the adjustable nozzles, maybe a little bit more, but again, it doesn't have any redeeming factor which makes you say, okay, no, this is a fantastic IM, this is what I'll choose over the others, because it really has something wow. So this again is easy to put out of the equation. That then leaves us here with the ORIVETI, with the KEFINE Delci, and with the 500 LM. The ORIVETI is going to be the next one to go, because although it plays really well, no deny, it does have that slight little issue that I mentioned there, that I am sensitive to. Maybe some of you are not, and so a little bit extra care must be taken what you're going to be using in terms of source. Maybe play around a little bit with cables, although cables, as I said, always create a lot of controversy as well, and make sure that the fit is ideal. So when you take into the account as well the $100 price bracket, no adjustable nozzles, and so on and so forth, you kind of, what is the factor here that makes me choose this? Nothing substantial. I'm assuming, with what I'm saying now in these last couple of minutes, that we are now choosing one IM. We're not buying anything in particular. So this gets then thrown out the window because of that. Okay, that then just leaves us here with the KEFINE, the Delci, and the 500 LM. And when I reviewed the original Delci, I said the Delci was every bit as competent as the 500 LM, and maybe even a more sensible choice if you didn't like playing around with the nozzles. Considering that now it does have the nozzles, And considering that you can, and I haven't played around with the nozzles to make alternative tunings, but considering that you can play around a little bit and maybe get alternative tunings out of it, I would say that this, compared to the 500 LM, are now the two most sensible choices under the $100 price bracket. Either one of them are very well built, solid shells, good drivers. You have the possibility of changing the tunings. Accessories are good, cables are decent. There's not much that you can falter overall in any of them. There's just a slight price difference, 60, so let's say $70 here, around the $80 price bracket there. So there's a $10, $15 difference here in price. But performance-wise, it's ultimately what rocks your boat the most. Is it the 500 LM? Is it the Delci's look and CNC shell? Is it that one that makes you, captivates you? You can't really go wrong with either one of them. That's the reality. You cannot go wrong with either one of them. The Delci AE is a fantastic IM. They've really done what they should have done, or what a lot of the other IMs in this group should have done in terms of offering good options in terms of the tuning, decent accessories, and a competitive price. So they very much are following on the footsteps of what SIMGOT has been doing over the last year and a half, where they've consistently been listening to what the market has been saying and offering products which are really, really well tuned. I mean, the SM4, for the 150 and sometimes even lower that you can get it, you cannot fault it. That's the reality. You cannot fault it. It's got an exquisitely well done tuning. So I'm curious to see what SIMGOT has in store for us in the future. Just for the sake of why not, compared here to the where is it? Where did I put it? Where's the Twistura? Where's this? There we go. Comparing here, or throwing in here the D major into this equation, especially, this is like almost $50. Yes, the D major is a nice IM. I'm not going to deny it. It does play well. I do like its tuning, but the Delci, costing what it does, it's the more obvious choice in my opinion. Definitely. I mean, there's nothing really that this can do better than the Delci. Delci AE, mind you. And that's it, guys. I mean, I think I've basically said it all. I apologize for the length of the review, but with all of these IMs, it had to be like that. I'll be doing a part 2 with the graphs, so we can have a brief comparison between everything. And like I said earlier, if there's any comparisons in specific that you would like me to do, let me know, and then I'll do that. But out of all of these IMs here, and again, the conch, some of you might be asking, but how does the conch then compare to the AE? The conch is very good. Yes, the conch is definitely very good. The conch just loses to the AE in the sense that the AE is just that little extra more polished. And that, just to say one last thing. Guys, the majority of the IMs coming out now are very much copy-paste. Okay? It's copy-paste. There isn't a lot of things which are really different and really stand out. Brands that maybe are doing something which really stand out, or brands like SIMGOT, or brands like KEFINE, in the sense that they really give you a competitive price for what they're offering you, which is a very well tuned, very well built, very well hardware wise selected IM. The TRN conch is kind of a fluke, in the sense that I question myself, did they really spend time in tuning it? Did they really imagine that the driver that they chose would be that good? But it's a fluke. And you can be sure of one thing. If instead of saying TRN conch, it said Moondrop, or it said something else, it would have been an IM of at least twice the price. At least. And still at twice the price, like I said, it would still be excellent. So, there's not a lot of big differences between IMs today. It's down to what they are, or what's the most bang for the buck that you can get. And as I said in the beginning, the most bang for the buck that you can get, is still the conch. There's still the TRN conch. Now, TRN conch, compared to the Delci AE, which one would I choose? I would choose the Delci AE, because you can see that there's a little extra amount of polish in terms of the build. it's a nice, it's a very nice shell. The driver here is a more competent driver than over there, and you can feel it. When you are really in ideal conditions. I actually went to that trouble. When you are really in ideal conditions with no noise, no nothing, you can feel that this is just ever so more elegant in the way that it executes things. There's moments where you can feel that the conch is just not as polished. It just lacks that extra little bit. But again, like I said, when you can pick that up for as low as $22, you cannot complain. You cannot. And whoever does complain, hey, there must be something really very wrong there. That's it, guys. KEFINE Delci AE, in my opinion, alongside the SIMGOT EA500LM, the two best IEMs that you can currently choose in terms of single DDs under $100 without question. Okay, take care now. Bye bye.